First, I want to thank Manuel Landon and Nolan Kozlowski for the music and the gifts that they will bring to worship this morning. Welcome to this time of worshiping together from this room and from wherever you are on this first Sunday of Advent. Please do read more fully the process for the 2021 budget. The proposed budget was previously sent via email, and there are copies available in the box outside under the portico. On Tuesday, December 8th, and then Thursday, December 10th, there will be question and answer sessions via Zoom, and there is a ballot that is printed in the December newsletter that you can mail in, or an online doodle poll that will be made available to vote digitally. So responses, though, will need to be received via either of those methods by Monday, December 21st. So if you have any questions, contact Kathy Schill, our moderator, with those questions. Enjoy the Advent devotionals. The copies, there are some in the blue bin outside. We're printing more right now as we need more. And of course, we will have daily postings on the Facebook page of each of those offerings that members of the church made. And the opportunity to participate in the Giving Tree is going quickly. This is for the neighborhood house here in Milwaukee. And again, there is a link that will be in the Monday email that you can click on and choose a child that you might like to give gifts to. Or items can be dropped back at the church office, or they can be just directly mailed here if you're shopping online. And just let us know that it came from you, and let us know if you need any help figuring out how to go about that. It is a very real joy every year, our Music Sunday. And so this year we will do lessons and carols with a variety of musicians and readers that will take place on December 13th, but this will be a live streamed event at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Facebook. So invite your friends to enjoy, come as you will to the Facebook stream and enjoy this as well. And then our monthly bag lunches for repairs, again, for that first Sunday in each month. We make lunches for the daytime homeless shelter, so the link will go out in the Monday email. You can choose how many lunches you might like to make, and then they will be delivered on Sunday morning next week, and then we will get them to the site on Monday. And as we move toward worship during the prelude, I offer these words from Franklin D. Roosevelt. We have always held to the hope, the belief, the conviction that there is a better life, a better world beyond the horizon. The psalmist writes, "To you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. O my God, in you I trust. Do not let me be put to shame. Make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me. For you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all day long. Be mindful of your mercy, O Lord, and of your steadfast love, for they have been from of old. Do not remember the sins of my youth or my transgressions. According to your steadfast love, remember me for your goodness' sake, O Lord. Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore he instructs sinners in the way. He leads the humble in what is right and teaches the humble his way. All the paths of the Lord are steadfast love and faithfulness for those who keep his covenant and decrees. The friendship of the Lord is for those who fear him and makes his covenant known to them. O guard my life and deliver me. Do not let me be put to shame, for I take refuge in you. May integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait for you." Let us be in prayer together. Lord, we do wait, but it is a waiting grounded in hope. And we seek your light in both of our days and our nights. And we come to you in prayer together, saying, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
My soul cries out with a joyful shout that the God of my heart is great, and my spirit sings of the wondrous things that you bring to the ones who wait. You fixed your sight on your servant's plight, and my weakness you did not spurn. So from east to west shall my name be blessed, with the world be about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Oh, I am small, my God, my all, you work great things in me, and your mercy will last from the depths of the past to the end of the age to be. Your very name puts the proud to shame, and to those who would for you yearn. You will show your might, put the strong to flight, for the world is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. And the world is about to turn.
Listen now to these words from the prophet Isaiah, words of hope from so long ago, words of promise. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. You have multiplied the nations, you have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as people exult when dividing plunder. For the yoke of their burden and the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor, you have broken as on the day of Midian. For all the boots of the tramping warriors and all the garments rolled in blood shall be burned as fuel for the fire. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us, and authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish and uphold it with justice and with righteousness for this time forward, onward, and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this.
Our second reading this morning is one we looked at not all that long ago. It comes out of one of my favorite chapters in all of Scripture, the 8th chapter of the letter to the church in Rome. These are the verses that precede that classic phrase of, "In all things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." But this is the 18th through 30th verses in which Paul writes, "I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us." Excuse me. "For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not of its own will, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to decay and will obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. We know that the whole creation has been groaning in labor pains until now, and not only the creation, but we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit, we groan inwardly while we wait for adoption, the redemption of our bodies. For in hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope. For who hopes for what is seen? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought, but that very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. And God, who searches the heart, knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. We know that all things work together for good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, in order that he might be the firstborn within a large family. And those whom he predestined, he also called. And those whom he called, he also justified. And those whom he justified, he also glorified." May God add blessing and understanding to the reading of this word. For many years, as a child, it was always the same story. The Advent season would be filled with joys and traditions that pointed us one after another towards that glorious Christmas morning. It would start with the decorations, the lights outside, the garland up the stairwell banister, the ornaments on the tree, and day by day, as my mother worked her magic in the kitchen, that mounting pile of Tupperware filled with cookies and candies would seem to grow by the hour. As we got further into December, there were special events at the church, opportunities to go caroling with church folks and with schools and other groups. And then the presents would start to appear under the tree. Each day would incite even more and more excitement, until finally, after weeks of looking towards Christmas with gleeful anticipation, Christmas Eve would come. As the sun set, we would head to church for the evening. We'd sing carols, we'd pray, and we'd light those candles as we sang Silent Night. And I, even as a child, would find myself enveloped by that beauty of that moment. For me, still to this day, the pinnacle moment of worship in the year of the church. But I'd also, in that same moment, have this small part of me growing more and more distracted as I was increasingly aware, word by word, that Christmas morning was just around the corner. As bedtime approached, we'd hang the stockings. We had a little song that we sang while we did that. that. We'd set out the cookies and the milk for Santa. We'd listen to my father read. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and then my sister and I together would head to one of our best bedrooms where we lie restless, struggling to sleep in the face of our mounting excitement for dawn. By morning, we'd be up before the sun. We'd awaken my parents, and they would head downstairs to make sure that everything was ready. They always went down to check to make sure that Santa came that night, and we'd take our positions right at the top of the stairs. Like rodeo bulls held behind that gate, just clamoring to get out. We'd be writhing in anticipation, just waiting for what was to come next, waiting and waiting and waiting for that moment in which our parents would give us that green light to come downstairs. Finally, as they did, we'd come bounding down those stairs. I think my foot might hit one stair on the way down and just skip everything else. As we came into that main level of the house, all of the joy and the wonder of the season would meet its fruition in the sounds, the smells, the tastes, and the experiences that made up so much of what Christmas was in our home. Christmas is a joyous time for so many, as it is for me, and I'm blessed to have it be a season that's filled with heartwarming memories, both of my childhood home and in the home of our children. The thing that has kind of grabbed on to me a little bit coming into this season this year, however, has been the reminder that all of those Christmas morning memories, all of those joys and blessings of both childhood and parenthood were preceded by that season of anxious anticipation. They were preceded by waiting for that which was to come. And waiting, of course, as Tom Petty sang, is so often the hardest part. We talk about it and we think about it now and then, but I think that waiting is perhaps one of the most underappreciated aspects of the Advent season. While perhaps it's a little less true this year than it is in most, the overarching reality is that Christmas has bubbled over with so many blessed traditions and experiences that our engagement with the season is one in which we have a month filled with Christmas festivities and less of that sense of our mounting anticipation as we await the arrival of that day. I think there's lost value, though, if we move too far from that childhood experience of standing at the top of those stairs, knowing what is to come, but being forced to wait that little bit for its revelation. Because it is that sense of waiting that can give us just that little glimpse into the hearts and the minds of the children of God who'd spent centuries hearing those promises of the coming Messiah, and lifetimes waiting for its fulfillment. Each week during Advent, we're including a reading of one of those prophecies that echoed in the hearts of God's people over 2,000 years ago. At the 9 o'clock service, it's the prelude to our Advent candle lighting. We're not going to try to light candles out here, so out here you'll just hear it. But we're doing that, we're including these prophecies every week because we need, I think, to be reminded of what it was like for those who waited. They'd spent centuries counting on this promise. They knew that God would fulfill the promises of the prophets in the end, but hundreds of years had passed and they were still waiting. Waiting for that which they knew was to come, waiting for that which had been proclaimed, waiting for that which they knew God could do and would do, but hadn't done yet. Waiting. to draw to our communal attention this season, however, is the spirit that they held as they waited. Because they didn't need to wait in angst. They didn't need to do so in consternation. They didn't need to wait in sorrow or anger or sadness or despair. No, they were able to wait no matter how long and what they were waiting for. They were able to wait with faith and trust that that which had been promised would be fulfilled. And that they could walk with God on that journey from where they were to where they would eventually be in God. And that, in a nutshell, is what Julie and I want to talk about over the course of this season that's in front of us. There's no question that we are all intimately familiar with that sensitivity of waiting right now. In many ways, it almost feels like we've all kind of entered into this moment of suspended animation where we're just kind of still and waiting for that which we know and hope will unfold. We're waiting to be able to gather with more family and friends again. We're waiting to be able to return to our offices and our schoolrooms. We're waiting to be able to go out to eat like we used to. We're waiting for therapeutics to continue to evolve so that infections would be less of a concern, and we're waiting for vaccines to start making the rounds so that infections become less of a concern at all. We're waiting to hug the people we love, to sing the songs that we adore, to engage in the activities that we miss. We're waiting to take off these obnoxious masks. Just move on. We're waiting for so many things and in so many ways, both COVID related and not. We're waiting, but just as we discussed a month or so ago, the one thing we're not waiting on is God. We stand in a place just like those who waited for the promised Messiah some 2,000 plus years ago, that we're able to wait with faith and trust that that which God has promised will be fulfilled. And we're able to wait and walk with God as we endeavor upon this journey from where we are to where we will be in God. We're waiting on what comes next, but we're never waiting on God, which means that we can wait in love, we can wait in joy, we can wait in peace, and we can wait in hope. And that's for me where it all starts. We're going to talk in the coming weeks about what it means to wait in joy and in peace and in love, but the true gift of our faith, I want to suggest, the true blessing of the incarnation is that God came to be with us. Emmanuel, God with us. God came to be with us and continues to be with us and works among us in a way that ensures that the reality of today is never the determination of tomorrow. Just consider the remarkable promise of that statement. The reality of today is never the determination of tomorrow. That, I want to suggest, is really what Paul is saying in this passage that I read from Romans. I consider that the sufferings of this present time, Paul says, are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us. In other words, what we know now is not what defines our tomorrow. Why? We know that all things work together for good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. I actually like some of the translations. There's a few different Greek sources, ancient manuscripts of this letter of Romans, and some other translations use different ones that I think actually get more directly to Paul's point here. Some read, God makes all things work together for good. Others say, in all things God works for the good. The phrasing and the details are less important, but the key, I believe, is that Paul's argument here is that we need not be torn down by the sufferings of today because God is at work for a better tomorrow. In all things, in all ways, in all places, in all times, in the good, in the bad, in the ugly, God is at work. I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing to the glory about to be revealed to us. Why? In all things, God works for the good. Or if I can say it more simply, the reality of today is never the determination of tomorrow because God is at work in it. What greater hope is there than that? You know, every Tuesday at our staff meetings, we open up with a devotional and a time of prayer. And the devotional that I shared this week was written by a woman who was talking about her smartwatch, counting her daily steps. She has a daily goal of reaching 10,000 steps that sometimes she reaches and sometimes she doesn't. The core of what she pointed out, however, was that one day's failure was never a factor in the next day's potential success. Every morning she would awaken to a reset step count and the fresh possibility of this day being better than the last, and every night she'd go to bed knowing that tomorrow could be better than today. That is the hope of this thing that we call faith. The reality of today is never the determination of tomorrow because God is at work in it all. In all things, in all ways, in all times, in all places, in the good, in the bad, and in the ugly, God is at work. The wonderful blessings that we've come to know in this Christmas season are a gift beyond measure. The more Advent has become Christmas time, however, the more we've lost that value of that child experience of excitedly waiting for the arrival of the promised day, the more we're losing the sense of what it means to wait in hope for that which is to come. I'm not saying that I don't enjoy everything that comes with this season. I do, and all more and more. I don't in any way think we need to change it and go back to some other format, but I do think it's worth reflecting sometimes on what it was for those people who had been waiting for centuries for the gift of Christmas. They anticipated, they longed, they struggled, they waited, but no matter what they waited for and no matter what that waiting looked like, they did so in love, they did so in joy, they did so in peace, and they did so in hope. So we wait for so many things. We wait for healing in that brokenness in our lives. We wait for the reminder of that Christmas blessing. We wait to reclaim the opportunity of so much of what we've been missing, for the chance to hold a bonfire and just burn all of these masks that keep driving us nuts. Wait in hope. We wait in hope because we know that no matter what we're waiting for and no matter what our waiting looks like, God is at work. We wait in hope because we know that with God at work, we can trust in the fundamental promise of our faith, that the reality of today in God is never the determination